Hi everybody, I'm Jack and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me this evening. This is Sunday evening, it's about 6:30, and I have had one of my old-fashioned days that I used to have when I had a hangover. I just didn't feel like doing anything, so I laid in bed and watched videos and read most of the day. And I was doing some reading, and I just thought I was going to do share a little reading with you for tonight, for the last day of the week. I got this book, well, what I'm going to read from, first let me tell you, I got kind of into this, as you can tell from the title, Native American Wisdom. I kind of got on that. Well, I've always been very interested in this, and I forget how long ago it was 6 or 7 months ago, and I watched this young lady, she's a yogi, and she also does the food thing too. I don't know exactly how she does her food thing. I watch her for other reasons, really. Her name is Kosta Yoga, Kostayoga, and she does some really cool stuff. She'll have these teas and she'll do some readings and whatever. And she was reading from this book called The Wisdom of the Native Americans. Now this is different. This is an article that I found that has that had one of the quotes from in that book. That's what it caught my eye. But The Wisdom of the Native Americans. You should really look it up. I bought it like immediately. It just hit me, and as soon as I finished watching her video, went to Amazon and I bought the book, and it didn't disappoint. I read a really good book on native cultures back when I was locked up in Panama for my little thing. It was called 1491. So you know, I'm not one of these people. I quote a lot of this. They have a lot of respect for the Native Americans and the natives of all lands. So just wanted to share this with you tonight. It's 10 quotes from a Sioux Indian chief that will make you question everything about our society. Let me read a little bit of background on him here, and I'll try to keep this as brief as possible, but it's pretty interesting stuff for you guys that took the time to click on this video. Luther Standing Bear was an Oglala Lakota Sioux chief who, among a few rare others such as Charles Eastman, Black Elk, and Gertrude Bonin, occupied the rift between the way of life of the indigenous people of the Great Plains before and during the arrival and subsequent spread of the European pioneers. Raised in the traditions of his people until the age of 11, he was then educated at the Carlisle Indian Industrial Boarding School of Pennsylvania, where he learned the English language and way of life. Like his above-mentioned contemporaries, however, his native roots were deep, leaving him in the unique position of being a conduit between cultures. Though his movement through the white man's world was not without success, he had numerous movie roles in Hollywood. His enduring legacy was the protection of the way of life of his people. By the time of his death, he had published 4 books and had become a leader in the forefront of the progressive movement aimed at preserving Native American heritage and sovereignty, coming to be known as a strong voice in the education of the white man as to the Native American way of life. Here then are 10 quotes from the great Sioux Indian chief known as Standing Bear that will be sure to disturb much of what you think you know about modern culture. Number 1. Praise, flattery, exaggerated manners, and fine, high-sounding words were no part of Lakota politeness. Excessive manners were put down as insincere, and the constant talker was considered rude and thoughtless. Conversation was never begun at once or in a hurried manner. 2. Children were taught that true politeness was to be defined in actions rather than in words. They were never allowed to pass between the fire and the older person or a visitor, to speak while others were speaking, or to make fun of a crippled or disfigured person. If a child thoughtlessly tried to do so, a parent in a quiet voice immediately set him right. 3. Silence was meaningful with the Lakota, and his granting a space of silence before talking was done in the practice of true politeness and regardful of the rule that thought comes before speech. And in the midst of sorrow, sickness, death, or misfortune of any kind, and in the presence of notable and great, silence was the mark of respect. Strict observance of this tenet of good behavior was the reason, no doubt, for his being given the false characterization by the white man of being a stoic. He has been judged to be dumb, stupid, indifferent, and unfeeling. Number 4. We did not think of the great open plains, the beautiful rolling hills, the winding streams with tangled growth as wild. Only to the white man was nature a wilderness, and only to him was it infested with wild animals and savage people. To us it was tame. Earth was bountiful, and we were surrounded with the blessings of the great mystery. 5. With all creatures of the earth, sky, and water was a real and active principle. In the animal and bird world there existed a brotherly feeling that kept the Lakotas safe among them. And so close did some of the Lakotas come to their feathered and fur friends that in true brotherhood they spoke a common tongue. 6. This concept of life and its relations was humanizing and gave to the Lakota an abiding love. It filled his being with the joy and mystery of living. It gave him reverence for all life. It made a place for all things in the scheme of existence with equal importance to all. 7. It was good for the skin to touch the earth, and the old people liked to remove their moccasins and walk with bare feet on the sacred earth. The old Indian still sits upon the earth instead of propping himself up and away from its life-giving forces. For him, to sit or lie upon the ground is to be able to think more deeply and to feel more keenly. He can see more clearly into the mysteries of life and come closer in kinship to other lives about him. 8. Everything was possessed of personality, only differing from us in form. Knowledge was inherent in all things. The world was a library, and its books were the stones, leaves, grass, brooks, and the birds and animals that shared, alike with us, the storms and blessings of earth. We learned to do what only the student of nature learns, and that was to feel beauty. We never railed at the storms, the furious winds, and the biting frost and snow. To do so intensified human futility, so whatever came, we adjusted ourselves, by more effort and energy if necessary, but without complaint. Number 9. The old Lakota was wise. He knew that a man's heart, away from nature, becomes hard. He knew that lack of respect for growing, living things soon led to a lack of respect for humans too. So he kept his children close to nature's softening influence. And number 10, finish it off. Civilization has been thrust upon me and has not added one whit to my love for truth, honesty, and generosity. A lot of wisdom in that Native American stuff. I quite enjoy their readings, and I quite enjoy their thoughts, and I quite enjoy the way they looked at things. It is what it is. Won't get into the politics or my deep feelings on the subject, but I just wanted to share that with you this evening to end up the week. I hope you all have had a good weekend, enjoyed your family, enjoyed your friends, had a little bit of fun. I hope you're ready for the coming week, and I hope the coming week will be good to you. Love you guys. Peace.